Imagine waking up, your breathing is ragged and strained. Your head just hurts.
Yeah.
And your whole body feels broken, like it's been put through a blender. It's just agony.
Awful.
This isn't some nightmare scenario. This was the actual reality for a man named Deb, waking up in a hospital bed after the Chenichok blast.
Mm.
So today we're doing a deep dive. We're going way beyond the headlines, past the numbers, to really explore the personal side of surviving major trauma, the psychological stuff, the societal ripples.
Yeah, the hidden aftermath.
Exactly. Our mission here is to look at that immediate chaos, the big why me questions that come up, and how an event like this can completely rewire how someone sees the world, their relationships, everything.
It really does change everything.
So Dib's waking up in that hospital room. It's slow, it's confusing. He feels this bandage on his head,
Yeah.
and then bam! The memories flood back. The noise, the people, the blood, severed limbs, mangled remains. Just horrific.
The full horror, unfiltered.
But then almost weirdly, this wave of relief hits him. He's okay. Well, relatively okay. He's not maimed, not paralyzed, just, a few cuts and burns here and there.
That initial reaction, that sort of survivor's euphoria, it's actually quite common, a neurological thing almost. Your brain just floods with relief, pure gratitude for being alive.
Even surrounded by all that suffering.
Especially then sometimes. It's primal. It's distinct from the guilt that often comes later, but that first hit of I'm alive, it's powerful, can feel very strange, very contradictory.
Right. And in that moment, he sees his girlfriend, Avantika, and he says her presence is like a shot of morphine that takes every bit of pain away.
Connection becomes incredibly potent then, an anchor.
But she's also the one who has to tell him the devastating truth. She tells him 89 people died.
Oh, wow. The scale of it.
And then he looks around, really takes it in, sees other survivors, people with, far worse injuries, some missing a limb or two. But he sees them smiling, laughing.
That must have been incredibly jarring.
Yeah. He says seeing that was hard, very depressing.
In that reaction, it tells you something. It hints at that conflict starting inside him. His relief clashes with the scene around him, and seeing others, maybe putting on a brave face, can actually intensify feelings of, guilt, or even feeling like his own trauma isn't as bad, isn't as valid.
Like minimizing his own experience because the physical wounds aren't as severe.
Exactly. It's a sort of defense mechanism, but it can make you feel incredibly alone.
And then this is where the story gets, almost unbelievable. The randomness of it all. We find out why Deb survived.
Okay.
He was standing, he says, appallingly close to the scooter where the bomb was hidden.
Yeah.
Appallingly close. He should have been blown to tiny bits.
So what happened?
Get this. He'd forgotten his wallet in the car. Just moments before the blast, he turned back to get it.
Wow. Forgetting his wallet saved his life.
Yeah. A completely mundane, everyday thing.
That just slams you face to face with the sheer arbitrary nature of tragedy, doesn't it? It's pure chance. But the mind struggles with pure chance.
Also,
Well, that detail, forgetting the wallet, it becomes a focal point. It immediately triggers what we call survivor's guilt. That awful feeling of being undeserving, asking, why me?
Yeah.
When others weren't so lucky. The mind tries to find a reason, any reason, even in something as random as a wallet. It's a heavy burden to carry.
that search for meaning in something so random, and you can see that why me really starts working on him. On the drive home, he's just silent, staring out the window.
Still processing, probably.
Yeah, his head's still ringing with the sounds, he says. The noise of the blast, the howls of the women, the painful cries of the men. His new reality isn't just physical recovery, it's this constant fear.
A fundamental shift.
Totally. It's not just a passing worry. He describes this sudden, overwhelming paranoia creeping into absolutely everything.
Like what?
Like thinking, what if the car we are in has a bomb? He admits, I suspect everything now. He feels scared and alone.
That makes sense psychologically.
He even compares it to the feeling after 9/11 in the U.S., that kind of suspicion and unease. He says when it happens to you, it is very unsettling. It's not news anymore, it's personal.
Right. It's what we call hypervigilance. It's a classic trauma response. The blast basically shattered his assumptive world.
His assumptive world.
Yeah, you know, those basic unconscious beliefs we all hold, that the world is mostly safe, predictable, that terrible things happen, but probably not to us. When an event like this shatters that, you're forced to rebuild your reality.
And that new reality includes constant threat scanning.
Exactly. Always looking for danger. It's exhausting, and it makes you feel cut off from everyone who hasn't been through it.
That sounds incredibly isolating. And this new fear, this shattered assumptive world, it leads him to this big aha moment about his
Oh,
parents.
interesting. How so?
He suddenly gets why they were always so protective. They live in Muscat, right? And he remembers how they'd give him this 15-minute sermon whenever he went out, how they'd call 50 times every 10 minutes if he was late.
Things that probably annoyed him back then.
Totally. But now, feeling this fear himself, he realizes they must be living in constant fear based on their own experiences, wherever they came from. He finally understands their anxiety.
That's a really powerful insight. Trauma can completely change how you see your past relationships. What felt like nagging before is now reframed as understandable anxiety, born from their own fears.
It's like he's suddenly speaking their language.
Yeah, it's a recalibration of risk, of vulnerability. It lets him connect with them emotionally in a way he couldn't before, trauma bridging a gap.
That reframing is huge. Okay, so let's shift a bit from the purely personal to how Deb sees the wider reaction, society's reaction. He gets home, turns on the news, and he just gets frustrated. Politicians condemning, people pointing fingers. But he notes critically, no one has come out to take the blame. Accountability is missing.
A common frustration after such events.
He can't watch it. He switches off the TV. He says, the memories of the dead people and the severed limbs are too much to take. The sanitized news version just doesn't compute with his reality.
The disconnect is too jarring.
Later, he catches a special report on the spirit of Delhi. You know, the kind people coming together, fighting the tragedy, getting over it.
The resilience narrative.
And Deb just calls it out. Bullshit, he says. Getting over it. It's more like forgetting all about it. He feels society is more interested in, like, doctored naked pictures of a wannabe actress than people dying on the streets.
Wow, that's blunt.
It's a really sharp critique of public attention spans.
Right.
And maybe the performative nature of collective grief.
Yeah, he's touching on something important there. Societies often push for this quick display of resilience, this moving on narrative. It's also like a tyranny of positive thinking.
Tyranny of positive thinking.
Yeah, it can make people who are genuinely deeply struggling feel invalidated, feel like they're failing if they aren't part of that upbeat spirit. Deb's honesty really exposes that gap between the public face of recovery and the private, often prolonged agony.
The society moves on, but the individual is still stuck in the trauma.
Precisely. The timelines are completely different.
And then Deb has this moment of really brutal self-awareness. He admits, I was on their side until yesterday. I was an uncaring Delhiite.
He recognizes his own past indifference.
Completely. He remembers seeing news of other blasts in other cities and just posting like, RIP, blast victims a status update. And I would get back to whatever I was doing.
Oof, that's honest.
Yeah. Now he sees those public gestures, that unity, as a bloody facade. He believes life stops only for the people who had been in the blast. For the others, they just do not care. Seeing his own previous apathy mirrored back at him.
That's incredibly potent. It's him recognizing the empathy gap,
Yeah.
how we react when tragedy is distant versus when it's right in front of us or happens to us.
It took being blown up for him to see it.
His whole perspective shifted. He went from being a detached observer to a survivor, and that changed not just his life, but his understanding of everyone else. It really makes you think about how we, as a society, tend to compartmentalize trauma that isn't ours.
How quickly we move on.
Right. And how do you build real community, real compassion, if the raw truth gets glossed over or ignored in that public narrative? It's a tough question.
It really is. But, through all this darkness, this confusion, this anger, his love for Avantika is this constant thread, this anchor.
She was there from the start in the hospital.
Yeah. He calls her his world. He just wants to wrap my arms around her and never let any harm come to her. There's this intense protective instinct now. He says the world is a cruel place, and I've seen it up close now.
Trauma often intensifies those bonds, makes you realize what's truly essential.
And that realization, that reevaluation, leads him to do something quite uncharacteristic for him. He calls his mom.
Back to the parents he now understands better.
Right. He says it's a rare call. And it's awkward. The usual questions. Are you eating properly, Deb? Teeny, her nickname for him.
The everyday stuff.
But inside, what he really wants to do urgently is just tell her I love her. Just in case, tomorrow something happens to me.
Facing mortality makes you want to say the unsaid things.
Yeah. And he reflects on why it's so hard. He says, no guy does. We are men. We do not know how to express love. That cultural conditioning.
That's fascinating. Because the extreme event, the trauma, It actually strips away some of that conditioning, doesn't it? It cuts through the societal expectations, the gender norms about emotional
What
expression.
brings them back to basics?
Exactly. Back to fundamental human needs. Love, connection, the urgent need to tell people how you feel. Facing death makes you drop the performance, the stoicism. It forces a reevaluation of what matters, pushing past those cultural blocks toward something more authentic.
It's a really vulnerable human moment. So Deb's whole experience, it really forces you, doesn't it, to think about how fragile life is and that huge gulf between seeing tragedy on the news and, well, living it.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder.
Yeah.
And connecting it to the bigger picture, his struggle really underlines that empathy often needs proximity, or at least it needs a conscious effort from us to try and grasp the personal story behind the numbers, beyond the headlines of the social media post.
Moving from detached observer to trying to understand the lived reality.
Precisely. His story kind of challenges our own assumptive worlds, makes us question how easily we might dismiss others' pain until it, lands on our own doorstep.
So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now? This deep dive into Deb's story. It really challenges us, I think, to consider those unseen threads, right? Chance, connection, the things that shape our own lives.
Mhm.
And maybe it pushes us to think about how we engage with the so-called spirit of our communities. Do we really connect? Or do we ignore the quiet suffering around us until something forces us to pay attention?
It's a call to bridge that empathy gap before a crisis demands it, perhaps. To try and cultivate that deeper understanding and compassion proactively, not just reactively.
Yeah. To try and truly see the people around us long before our own sense of security gets shaken, it's definitely something to think about.